from the Gaza enclave and diplomatic efforts. We'll be here to continue bringing you all of the further updates we get today. But we move on now, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has confirmed she will meet US President Donald Trump this Sunday in Scotland to discuss a potential trade deal between the European Union and the United States. Trump called the agreement with the EU the biggest deal of them all, if successful, though he admitted there are 20 different sticking points in negotiations. Let's listen.
I would say that we have a 50-50 chance, maybe less than that, but a 50-50 chance of making a deal with the EU. And it'll be a deal where they have to buy down their tariffs, because they're right now at 30%. And they'll have to buy them down, maybe, or they could leave them the way they are. But they want to make a deal very badly.
Well, both sides are focused on averting the looming 30% tariff set to take effect next week. And with a baseline agreement of 15% tariffs on EU goods, discussions are intensifying. If the deal goes through, it would reshape transatlantic trade relations significantly. Well, with us to discuss these developments, Ross Feingold, a political analyst joining us from Taipei in Taiwan. Ross, as always, a pleasure to have you on the programme. We've discussed the significance of a trade deal between the United States and the EU many times, but of course it's becoming more important now with that deadline looming and getting ever closer. Of course, 1st of August is the deadline that Trump has set for nations to agree on deals. This is huge for both sides. Absolutely a huge amount of trade going on between the US and the 27 nation bloc. Do you think this meeting on Sunday is the final chance to get a deal done, given that deadline, or could Trump potentially move his deadline, as we've seen him do in the past, if it doesn't get over the line right now?
Either one is a possibility. Not being in the room, we don't know how close or how far they are from a deal. The good news is that they're talking, and they're talking at the highest level. It doesn't get any higher than von der Leyen meeting directly with Trump. So that's a positive. Another positive is that there's recent agreements that the United States has made with other trading partners, such as Japan, which kind of provide a template for the things that the Trump administration is looking for. So that provides some useful knowledge to the European Union side in engaging with the Trump administration. And another thing to keep in mind is I think both leaders are under pressure from industry to reach a deal. Business leaders are not rooting for a trade war. Business leaders are not rooting for disruption to the flow of goods, to supply chains. So even though President Trump seems set on raising tariffs on most U.S. trading partners in the absence of reaching a deal, he's also under pressure from business leaders as well, and I'm sure they've communicated that to the White House. So both sides have incentives to reach a deal, but to your final point, is it possible that Trump might extend the deadline? Well, we have to say yes, because he's done that before.
Absolutely. Ross, Donald Trump talking about potentially 20 different sticking points. Could you provide us with some context on what that might mean?
The United States has had issues with tariff and non-tariff barriers in the European Union for many years, just like it's had with its other trading partners around the world, including its most significant trading partners like Japan. So it's not a surprise that the list is lengthy. The rules for goods, especially agricultural goods, to enter the European Union are incredibly complex. The United States has long complained about EU subsidies to various industries, both agriculture as well as manufactured goods. So there's many issues that have been unresolved in the bilateral relationship. And it's clear that the approach of the Trump administration in these negotiations, not just with the European Union, but with other trading partners as well, is to say, here are all the issues that we have with you. And, one interesting thing that Trump always says when he's talking about trade, and he brings this up a lot when he talks about trade with China, He says he doesn't blame the other country, right? He blames previous U.S. Presidents for letting the other side get away with such good deals and taking advantage of the United States on trade. The Trump administration is basically saying, here are all the legacy issues, and we want to resolve all of them in this negotiation. I think the Trump administration does deserve a little bit of credit for trying to resolve all those issues.
Ross, thank you for that insight. Of course, lots to discuss on trade and US tariffs ahead of that August 1st deadline, and we will bring all of those updates to you. Ross, you will be staying with us as we move away